10 years ago, Hurricane Katrina brought devastation to the Mississippi and Louisiana Gulf Coast. Over 1,500 were killed in Louisiana, while many others lost their property and suffered from illness and injury. Captain Patrick Yose of the St. Charles Parish Sheriff's Office was one of the first responders to witness the tragic aftermath firsthand. He was faced with the realization of nearly an entire police force that was left homeless in a matter of days. His book, Chest Deep and Rising, gives his readers a taste of what he endured throughout the catastrophe of Katrina.
Katrina caused us to have to adapt and overcome. And it caused us to come up with emergency plans that were more practical based off of something that we had no concept that could happen. And because of that, I think it's sort of a metaphor of having to come up with an emergency plan while we're chest deep in water and the water's rising.
3 weeks before disaster struck, the Fraternal Order of Police hosted a national conference in New Orleans involving over 6,000 police officers from across the nation.
And here we are 3 weeks later, and police officers all across this country are watching the news, and they seeing what's happening in New Orleans, and they were just there. And for them, it was an outpouring of support. They called, and we just started getting just tons of calls and assistance and donations.
The money raised through donations helped bring relief to many.
What it allowed us to do was it allowed me to write a $500 check and hand it to a member who lost his home. Now, I know what you're thinking, $500 is not a whole lot of money for someone who just lost their home, but I have to tell you, it was a lot more, because they knew that money came from their peers. It came from police officers across this country, and because of that, it meant so much to them. Now, the interesting thing is not only did I write that $500 check and hand it to a person that lost their home, I wrote that check 1,764 times and handed it to people who needed it. So the FOP played a major role, at least in the law enforcement side of helping in Katrina.
Captain Tony Canatella, a member of the New Orleans Police Force in the 6th District, made a statement that left a mark on Captain Yose.
He said, where can you go to work every single day of your life and stand amongst heroes? Because they truly are. And if you think about it, at that time, there was so many rumors that police officers were walking off the job and they weren't doing their job. And in reality, that's not what happened. It was not what happened at all. The media took certain things, twisted it around, and created this atmosphere that law enforcement was the bad guy in this major situation. And in reality, there were a whole bunch of people on the job out there finding boats, rescuing people off of rooftops, and trying to protect the city. Clearly, the ones that were here made a difference. I mean, they were the true heroes. Then after that, there were so many people that came in from other states, other agencies, that just immediately helped an already fractured department. Not just department, we're talking about the entire greater New Orleans area. All of these agencies are scrambling and trying to make things happen. Well, that influx of people from other agencies and from National Guard certainly made a huge difference in our ability to be able to recover after the storm.
Captain Yose says that there were many lessons that the first responders learned in dealing with Hurricane Katrina. There is now a new normal in planning for disasters.
But I think at the same time, it's real hard for me to say, just look, what happened before Katrina was the normal. And we just have a new normal now. It's completely different, it's just a different world, and it's never going to be the same, and that's a fact. And I think we've clearly learned a whole lot from Katrina. I think in many ways we're much better off, and in some ways we still struggle with some very common issues that we still can't wrap our arms around. We're on our way. I mean, we're very resilient people. I remember the arguments that maybe New Orleans shouldn't be rebuilt. Never underestimate the power of a New Orleanian.
As for his own family and friends, his advice to them, get out of town.
I never hesitate in telling people, leave. Because at best case scenario, you're still going to have a house when you come back to, but it's going to be miserable here. When a storm comes through, it is hot. There is no electricity. There are no services. There's no reason for you to sit here and subject yourself and your family to this, because you don't know the outcome, and two, it's not going to be a pleasant experience. And if we didn't learn lessons from the way Katrina affected the city of New Orleans, if we're not concerned of how Katrina affected the city of New Orleans, then shame on us. If this repeats itself, then shame on us as a country.